The January 6th hearings, or as I like to call them, the Trump tries to overthrow his own government hearings, begin this Thursday. But let's face it, this is not 1973. This is not the Watergate hearings. The country will not be riveted by these hearings. One of the measuring sticks of how much America has changed is the difference in the media coverage of the Watergate hearings versus the upcoming January 6th hearings. Back in 1973, if you could believe it, there were three networks. Three networks. It seems almost comical. And despite the mythology, these three companies were hardly pure. These three companies were deep into corrupt, monopolistic practices. This was the media truly run by the elite. And in fact, their news divisions were rife with reporters who had sacrificed their integrity to become sources for the CIA, if not CIA agents themselves. Sometimes undercover, sometimes not. And sometimes it was public knowledge. All these networks wanted, all they ever wanted, and all they still want, is profit. Profit at any cost, like all cold-hearted corporations, in any way possible. Advertising revenue, shareholder price, still primarily the backbone of TV to this day. But with new technologies come new ways to exploit and expand and maximize profit further. Subscription models, streaming models, algorithms. Because we all know by now that they're listening and watching us, even as we listen and watch them, so they can better fine-tune their pitch to make us spend even more money without a conscious thought. It's brilliantly devious and unremittingly evil. And whether we know or don't believe it's happening doesn't really matter because it's happening. So of course, the entire country, whoever that country was back then, was riveted by the Watergate hearings. There was literally nothing else to watch. It was on all day, and then it would be rerun at night. In some way, it captured the public's imagination and perhaps served as a surrogate catharsis for the unresolved, unspoken assassinations of JFK, RFK, MLK, Malcolm X, and shockingly, many, many more. But remember, 1973. We had enough of Nixon's bullshit, and we had enough about the lies that affected everyone about the Vietnam War. The next time a spectacle caught the nation's attention was the OJ trial. Now think how much the world changed between 1973 and 1994. There were now multiple networks, and cable and pay channels were beginning to proliferate. The change and expansion of technology impacted the way the OJ trial captivated the public. If you think of it, the OJ trial was the first trial not only to be covered by all media, but to create and spawn entire networks specifically designed for and devoted to it. Today there are too many channels to count, and they are changing all the time. It's like a telescope looked at TV and saw many, many more channels out there than you can see with the naked eye. There's a channel for any fetish or interest you might have, from food to guns to home and beauty makeovers and virtually anything else you could think of. We know how long that list is. And because of that, it would be inappropriate for certain networks to cover trials and hearings. Entire networks will ignore it. Or like the Food Channel, it would be weird for them to carry it. I mean, you're going to have Guy Fieri and Bobby Flay host the insurrection hearings? By the way, I think they do a lot better job than some of the so-called journalists who actually will. We need real people telling us what's going on and not some propagandized spin, regardless of the ideology, that only makes us more suspicious and cynical about the so-called truth. Remember, not only good-hearted Americans watch the Watergate hearings or the OJ trial or even the coverage of the assassination of JFK. No, not just good-hearted Americans learn the lessons from these events. Evil people with bad intentions watch these events unfold too, to learn what not to do next time. You can be sure Trump was watching. Who will be watching this time?